According to you, is the Mahabharata a story about men or women? It starts as a woman's story, then shifts the focus on men, and finally becomes about women again. The story begins with Shantanu and his two wives. Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm reading book Devlok with Devdutt Patnayak. And today I'm gonna start reading part 20, Women in the Mahabharata. So let's continue. His first wife is Ganga, queen of rivers. She marries him on the condition that no matter what she does after their marriage, he will not question her. She then proceeds to drown each of the seven children she gives birth to. When she is about to do the same to the eighth child, he stops her because he has broken his promise. She leaves with the child. His second wife, Satyavati, a fisherman's daughter, agrees to marry him on the condition that her son will become king. Both women put forth conditions that he has to accept if the marriage is to take place. In the next generation, things change. Satyavati has two sons, Chitrangat, who dies in a battle with a Gandharv, and Vichitravirya, who is a weakling. Ganga's son, Devdutt Bhishma, is asked to abduct the daughters of Kashi's king, Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika, and bring them as bride for Vichitravirya. Whereas the previous generation women were attaching conditions to marriage, in the second, they are being abducted. They have no rights. Amba is in love with someone else, so she is allowed to leave. When she is not accepted by her lover, she returns only to be rejected again. Once something has been given away, she is told it cannot be taken back. She asks Bhishma to marry her, but he tells her about his vow of celibacy. Amba is ruined. She has nowhere to go and no one to turn on. She suffers. In the meantime, her sister's husband Vichitravirya dies before fathering any children, so they become childless widows. Satyavati says, since they have married my son, their womb is my son's. Whosoever puts his seed there, the children will be my sons. This was called the Niyog system, whereby a woman could bear another man's child, but legally the child would belong to her husband. Satyavati asks her two daughter-in-law to have Niyog with Rishi Vyas, who was born to her before marriage. On seeing Vyas, Ambika closes her eyes and so begets a blind son, Dhritarashtra. Ambalika gets scared, becomes cold, and so she bears a weak son, Pandu. Satyavati is not happy with the quality of the children produced and asks Vyas to go back to Ambika. Vyas tells Satyavati that he is a Vanvasi, one who lives in a forest, and unkempt. Given the previous experience, he'll need to make himself more attractive. Satyavati is unmoved and rushes to him. However, Ambika refuses to be treated like an animal and sends her maid instead. The child produced is Vidur. He is perfectly healthy, but as a servant's child, he can never be king. You see that the status of woman has come down a notch. Pandu marries Kunti in a swamvar. He has been cursed. If he has sexual relations with a woman, he will die. So Kunti has to take a recourse to have children by the gods. Yudhishthir, Bhim, Arjun, although biologically they are not Pandus by laws of Niyog, they belong to him. Pandu's second wife, Madri, begets Nakul and Sahadev from the Ashwini Kumars. By this third generation, women's freedom has gone completely. The world of the Swamvar has given way to a very new world. Gandhari is the princess of Gandhar, who what we now know as Kandhar in Afghanistan. She travels all the way to Hastinapur around Delhi for her marriage without knowing who she is going to wed. She finds out just before the nuptials that her husband is blind. On her wedding night, Dhritarashtra asks her to always support him and act as his eyes. But before marriage arrives, she has tied a blindfold and taken a vow to wear it throughout her life. Dhritarashtra comforts her and tells her that while the world thinks she is an ideal wife who is sharing her husband's grief and handicap, he feels it's her anger towards the fact that her family had not informed her of his blindness and that she had to marry him because her family had been defeated by his. So it's not clear whether she ties the band out of love or revenge. It's not clear in the text. When we read it or see dramatization, we ponder over this. The point is not why, but its effect, the fruit of this action, which is terrible. When her 100 children are growing up, they have a father who cannot see and a mother who doesn't want to see. Whatever her reason for blindfolding herself, she doesn't remove it despite having children. So, what kind of impact would it have had on the children? Did the Kauravas become who they were because of this? I have heard that Madhuri commits sati. It is there in the story. In the Mahabharata, sati is mentioned. Madhuri was supposed to be very beautiful and there was always tension between her and Kunti. Kunti had chosen Pandu in a swambar, whereas Madhuri had been given to him. Kunti was sad that while she had chosen her husband, he had bought himself a beautiful wife. She may have not felt beautiful enough, and so on. One day, Pandu got excited seeing Madhuri's beauty, forgot about his curse, and became imitated with her. He died. Madhuri felt guilty about it and jumped into his pair, saying she would follow him to Pitralok. She left her children behind with Kunti, so not only did Kunti not get her husband's love, but she also had to raise 5 children on her own. So, this is it for today. I'll be back till then. Keep listening beautiful stories and keep smiling.